Well, gobble a banana and swallow it whole. We're back on Hearts of Iron 4, but today won't be a traditional video. We're going to be doing a top 5 video. Oh my gosh. Now, I'm going to get plenty of comments saying I'm copying Legend of Total War because he's doing Total War ones. Well, I'm technically doing it in a different game, so is that really copying? Is it? But if you'd like more top 5 lists, then make sure to leave a comment and upvote the ones that you'd like me to do in future. I imagine it's going to be quite good for when I'm stretched on time, which I am this week, to kind of get a top 5 video done. And it might just give you a few tips and tricks on how to actually get a little better at HOI4. Probably more single player than multiplayer stuff, because I'm still not amazing at multiplayer. But single player, I'm pretty solid. So what we're going to be doing today, after you've left a like, that is identifying the top 5 countries that are the most difficult to play as, that border an Axis nation. So by the Axis, I'm just going to be referring to mainly Italy and Germany, the main kind of 2 members of the Axis. Japan, I'm sorry, Mr. Hirohito, but you won't be included in the list. So in at number 5, we have Albania. Albania, you start with 1 division and 3 factories. You don't have a unique focus tree. You can obviously get one in mods, but you don't have one to start off with. The main reason this isn't at number 5 is that Italy can just do Albanian occupation. So if for some reason you misclick, you can just lose the game just by accepting the event. If you don't, then you're just going to be naval invaded to heck. Sure, you might be able to put up a little bit of a defense, but as soon as Italy wins in Yugoslavia, then you're going to get surrounded and absolutely destroyed. Again, you could try and join the Allies or the Comintern, but it won't save you. You don't really stand a chance as Mr. Zog. Sorry, Zog. You also start with 2 research slots, a very limited amount of manpower. It's just not going to work for you, I'm afraid. Number 4, we have Austria. Now this time you do actually have a few factories, and you do start off with a little bit of an army. However, it is very unequipped. The total amount of equipment in the field to start off in the game is 34%. Now you also don't have a focus tree, you just have the base focus tree. And just like with Albania, Germany has the Anschluss, which we all know just gobbles up Austria. Now you could refuse it, but then you're also going to have the problem that Hungary might also, if you're doing non-historical, go down and try to demand a referendum or take Austria by force. So you're going to get sandwiched by Germany or Hungary, either way you play, historical or non-historical. Now you could attempt to have a bit of a defence in the river line and the mountain line here to try and hold off the Germans. But once they gobble up Czechoslovakia, they can just go around you and into your rear. Or if Italy joins the Axis, you're going to get invaded from the mountains too. So you're in a bit of a occupation sandwich as Austria. You don't really stand much of a chance. Number 3 is France. Now, France is technically a major nation at the start of the game. However, they do actually start with under 50 factories to begin with. And I think in order for the game to count you as a major, you have to have 50 factories. So they're a major minor turning into a major. However, their army is incompetent and terrible. Now, actually, you do start with a very large army. Much larger than that of Germany. If you're playing a historical game, though, you're going to run into trouble because Germany's army will become a lot better than yours at over the course of a few years, and a lot stronger. You don't really have the industry, and you also have very poor national spirit, such as the disjointed government and victors of the Great War, which, as you can see, gives you terrible debuffs. So if you don't focus on getting rid of those, you're going to run into quite a few problems. Now you do have the Maginot Line, which will protect one of your borders with Germany. In fact, the only border. However, once Germany begins to make its way through the Benelux and conquers them, you're going to run into a bit of trouble. A lot of the territory on the Benelux border is plains, so the German tanks are really going to come into use there and probably just steamroll you and take Paris. Even if they don't, you're still going to have to defend your border here against Italy, which, if you're focusing up in the Benelux, you're going to struggle to have enough divisions to man the line. This is if you're a newish player. If you're an experienced player, you could probably hold as France. Then you also have to worry about North Africa, because the Italians, I'm giving Mussolini a bit too much credit here, but in theory they could go up here So France is a difficult major to play as, and they'll probably be the only major nation on this list. If you're a good player as France, you could probably hold. If not, you're probably going to get destroyed when Germany attacks through the Benelux down into Paris. Despite the fact that if you join the Allies, England won't send all of the divisions over to help you, and especially if it's an AI-controlled United Kingdom, it's going to be an absolute mess. But good luck. Honourable mention for Denmark. They're not actually making the list because I guess technically they're not a nation. In fact, they shouldn't really be in the game. Hold on a sec. There we go. Okay, sorry, that looks a bit more accurate now, doesn't it? Apologies. So honourable mention to the fake nation of Denmark. Sorry, Bo. So in at number 2 we have Czechoslovakia. Now Czechoslovakia does actually start with a fairly strong army, and they have a decent focus tree. So you can actually have a lot more forts than you initially start with. So the Sudetenland advanced fortifications, Sudetenland final fortifications, the Polish line, the Hungarian line. So it could actually become quite a strong defensive nation. However, Germany does also have the demand Sudetenland focuses. So if you're doing the historical route, then you're going to have a problem, especially when the United Kingdom and France just like, yeah, go for it, whatever, mate. So if you misclick, you can lose your entire nation, and if you misclick and accept the Sudetenland, then you're going to be forced back to this line in Bohemia, and you're going to get absolutely trounced. You also run into the problem is that if Germany's done the Anschluss and your forts on the Austrian border aren't built up, you're going to get absolutely steamrolled. And despite the army starting off pretty okay, you do also have a limited manpower pool, and you don't really have any way to fend off their tanks in your divisions. So you have an okay industry to start with, but you won't have enough time to build up in order to, most of the time, successfully defend your nation. Also, your air force won't be able to match Germany's, so through just grinding you down, Germany probably will eventually annex you. And then if Hungary joins, they're going to come in through the south too. You're in a bit of a tight, tricky situation as Czechoslovakia. Now, I was going to include Yugoslavia and Poland on the list, but where it's just the top 5 nations, then it's kind of tricky to do. Yugoslavia does have its own custom focus tree, so they could go down and join the Comintern or join the Allies and actually give concessions to the government and join the Axis. They have a focus to join the Axis, so you could do that too. So there is a way to survive as Yugoslavia if you really want to, but it will be tricky. Poland, you do have the option of trying to join the Soviet Union and then trying to fend off the Axis there. If you just join the Allies, you're probably going to get trounced. You do have a river line that runs all throughout your nation. However, they could just attack via Ostprussen. So again, Poland and Yugoslavia, you do have options. I'd say more options than the other nations that we've discussed. Okay, in at number 1, what is the most difficult nation to play as when you border an Axis nation? So I'm going to go with the trifecta of the Benelux. So all that's 3 nations. You do have the Netherlands and Belgium. Both do, in a way, have a chance to hold. Especially the Netherlands. You could try and hold on this river line here. And you only really have a few tiles to hold. So I think the Netherlands could be defended. Belgium has the same. You do have the same kind of like river line up here, down there. Luxembourg, however, doesn't stand a chance. So the number 1 will be the nation of Luxembourg. Luxembourg starts with 4 factories. A terrible manpower pool because, no one actually lives in Luxembourg. Although you do have the forest, it's not going to help you. 95% of the time you won't be able to field enough or a large enough army to try and hold them with your 1 military factory to start off with. Again, I guess you could join the Axis, but if you're playing in a historical match, you're going to get trounced. I don't see any way that Luxembourg can hold against Germany. Of course, if you kind of, hunker down, build forts, you might be able to, but for all intents and purposes, Luxembourg, pointless nation to play as. Okay, so if you disagree with my list, please do leave a comment below explaining what you think your top 5 most difficult nations to play as that border an Axis nation are. And if you want to see more top 5s, just let me know. I partly recorded this bit today as I'm running a bit of time and I'm going to be going to an event in London Wednesday, but I just wanted to get out a little bit of content to kick off the week. But I'll be back soon, and yeah, if you've enjoyed this top 5, leave a like, subscribbly-dib, and it's toodaloo from me for now. Bye! Many thanks to Wyatt, Papa Stalin of the Paintbrushes, Aidan, Andrew, Clinshaw, Jiggly Crotch, Brock Obama, I Am a Living Legend, Hunter of Griefers, Martin, Red, Logan and Sam for being ridiculous Rambler supporters on Patreon, and many thanks to all the other patrons too!